With these seeds, we have a new beginning, a new dawning, a new day. For the day of oppression is over, and the tyrants have to think about what they're doing. You know, a new nation is born here today, even though you don't see no people around yet, but they'll come. If you plant them, they will come.
With a pistol in his boot, he got another one by his side. If you value your life, keep your eyes open wide for a gambling man. For a gambling man. That's the life of a gambling man.
Chief Wana Dubie, ain't that hippie smoke weed out in the woods?
I am told that when tested, it turns out that he was borderline genius, IQ.
The guy, he makes people believe with his bullshit.
I'll tell you that I respect him and I like him based on what little I know of the man. I respect his willingness to go out on a limb and speak up for what he believes in and take risk for what he believes in.
Is he for real? I don't know. But the points that he raised, certainly this is good grist for academic discussion.
I think he was a very intelligent individual. In fact, I made the comment a couple of times that I thought he was too smart for his own good.
I don't think that too many people were willing to be as blatant about planting marijuana as he was.
We got two channels out there where I live. So we got Prime Star. And so all of a sudden, I'm watching CNN. I'm just waiting to die. I'm dying. My life made no sense. I got electrocuted in St. Louis. I had the yuppie flu. And so I'm watching CNN and I'm looking and I'm saying, what happened to my country?
At that time, Cooper Hill was pretty much a retirement community. There was a lot of old people lived here, all retired and very quiet, and a nice little town.
He says, who's Chief Wana Dubie and where's Cooper Hill? Well, here's Cooper Hill. Cooper Hill. Let's see how easy it is to drive with a camcorder. Whoa, not that easy.
Joe Bickell was a resident of Cooper Hill. He was a very unusual person in our area.
He looked like an old hippie dude. He was always skinny and had long hair. The guy had more hair than you can imagine. He could grow a beard like this in 2 days.
Can't say he's the most interesting case I've ever worked as sheriff, but he's certainly the most colorful. He'll be one that I always remember.
He, at some point, and I don't remember exactly when because this has been some 20 years ago, but he did adopt the persona of an Indian, gave himself the name Chief Wana Dubie.
So, a friend of mine from St. Louis came in and he had a bag of weed and he rolled up the joint and he handed it to Dave's wife and she fired it up, passed it to him. And he went to pass it to me and I'm talking to this guy and he says, hey, Chief Wana Dubie? And I said, that's it. I knew it right off the flip.
I've always called him Joe Bickell. I know that he goes by Chief Wana Dubie, so I may vary back and forth on how I refer to him, but the chief was a proponent of legalizing marijuana, and a very vocal proponent of that. Okay, so I was sick and I needed my marijuana. Well, I couldn't believe that America declared war on me, officially declared war without a vote of the people. And so I went on a hunger strike. I was a little bit upset. So I called up the news people and told them I'm on a hunger strike. They're going to outlaw marijuana. I just want to turn myself in. Just, you know, I don't understand how the government can declare war against the citizens.
So I was supposed to meet Channel 13 News at the steps of the state capitol because I told them all, I don't want you to come to my house and interview me just sitting there waiting to die. I'm going to spring into action, and I'm going to march to Washington, D.C.
It was just one of those examples of the chief doing bizarre things, and there are, as you probably know by now, there are hundreds of examples.
He was going to march to Washington and carry his cross.
He had constructed a wooden cross and carried it much like the portrayal as Jesus did.
I believe he called TV stations and stuff that didn't bother to show up. And I think he carried his cross to the Morrow River Bridge, made it that far, and it started raining, it got dark and cold.
Well, it was raining bad, real bad. And I'm on a hunger strike. I haven't eaten in days.
I don't even think he made it out of town.
I was told that he got cold and tired and hungry, and so he walked up to the Troop F headquarters to turn himself in, and walked in and said, "I smoke marijuana, arrest me." And they said, "Do you have any?" And he goes, "No." "Well, it's not illegal to say you smoke it, but you don't have any."
I come home at night, I went to my neighbor's, Dubie Dave's, and he said it was on TV because they were watching it to see my interview. And the news camera crew ran right by me, which I was waiting for him on the steps of the state capitol, and they ran by me, went to the governor, and he declared war on drugs. I was betrayed. I felt betrayed. That's how I felt. I felt like a man with no country.
At some point, decided to secede from the nation and create what he called the Dubie Nation and the Santa Maw Indian Reservation.
He kept a sign in front of his property, the Santa Maw Indian Nation. He wanted to claim that a lot. He wanted to use that, that somehow gave him special rights, being Native American, that he was entitled to circumvent white man's laws.
He went to the county courthouse in Lynn, Missouri, and attempted to file papers that would establish his new identity, secede from the nation, and actually at one point declare war on the nation.
I filed all my reasons why I was declaring war against our government because the government declared war against us. That's treason. They never charged me with treason for declaring war against America because they committed the treason by declaring war against us.
Well, the county clerk at that time was an elderly gentleman who I think just did not know what to make of this. He obviously had never seen anything like this.
I had 3 documents: that I succeeded from the Union and declared my property Indian reservation, that I declared myself Chief Wana Dubie, and that I declared war on America, a war of nonviolence and peace.
He claims that he declared war on America. Did it feel like you were being...
Well, it in some ways, yes.
Well, he had, along this field here, all along the highway, he had painted a lot of signs that he mounted on the fence.
Ain't that the truth? So, you went to war against the war on drugs to legalize marijuana.
To legalize freedom. Not just marijuana, to legalize the right to be you. I dare to be free, I dare to be me. And if we don't have the right to be ourselves, then we're nothing.
From an activism standpoint, what would you say would be the best way that somebody could try to legalize marijuana?
Oh, I think that any way they try is good. that we need to experiment with different approaches.
Think of civil disobedience as a strategy.
It's the American tradition. We throw off the yoke of tyranny. We're free people.
We're Americans, not Americans.
What do you think of Chief Wana Dubie's strategy?
Well, you know, I wouldn't criticize it. I think that, you know, his strategy is as legitimate as any other. I think what he did was to draw attention to this issue, and that's something that's very important.
I wrote letters to St. Louis Post and different papers trying to get more of a statewide interest in it, but they ignored it. The local press was fair, it seemed like.
I think the local newspaper loved him. I think they sold a lot of newspapers thanks to the chief.
Now, Chief Wana Dubie claimed that he seceded his property from the United States and was the Wana Dubie Nation. Legally speaking, is that possible?
There's a credible argument to be made for secession.
In the Constitution, it says we have the right to alter or abolish the government whenever they go against the principles of the Constitution.
Whether we have a right to take a piece of real estate from the interior of the United States borders and say, I'm going to take this real estate away from the country is another matter.
Where did the Constitution go? The hippies didn't smoke it, and the fatties didn't eat it.
Well, the central issue is sovereignty. I mean, that's when a state has control over its territory. But there are several aspects to that. First of all, a state really has to have, or a country is another way to say that, has to have some kind of governance.
And so how was the government of the Dubie Nation run?
By consensus. Majority rule, but everybody gets to speak. We're all the government. Nobody is over anybody else. I may be the chief, I may be the one with the feather, but the feather goes around the circle. If everybody don't get a voice, then you don't have anything.
But secondly, a state really does have to know where its space is. What is its area? What is its territory?
We had a house with a barn and a half, and another house with 2 barns, and another house with an outhouse and a shack.
Another aspect is to define who its citizens are.
We are a race of people connected by a common urine type. Dirty.
But a bottom line for all this, even though it has sovereignty to internally govern its affairs, it has to be recognized by somebody outside itself. And generally we say it has to be recognized by another sovereign state.
When Ashcroft was defeated by Carnahan, I figured, okay, we got a new governor, it's time to make a new peace agreement.
Then he was going to execute a number of treaties with the county and the state and the federal government to, I would say, bolster his identity as a separate and autonomous unit of government.
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Joseph Bickell, or alias Chief Wana Dubie. I've been at war with the United States government officially since 1990.
So I sent him the tape that was from my heart. With the Constitution, I went page by page and how they faltered.
I don't know if you can see this book here. Let's put it up here a little bit closer. There it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. See that? It's the Constitution of the United States, which they hand out to the kids at school. And I feel that most of my rights have been violated. And in the First Amendment, we have the right to petition the government for a redress of grievance. So that's what I'm doing here.
Well, I called them up, and I had that on tape too.
Today's Tuesday. Monday I called a couple of newspapers with Bickell. Today I called the governor's office. And Sessions got a little upset and didn't know what to do with something. So I made it further than I ever did. I made it to the governor's message machine. And I heard his voice. And I left a long message on his machine. And I requested an appearance. I want to talk to the governor.
So I sent them both peace pipes that I hand carved myself with diligence and tradition of the past.
It was a piece of hardwood with the pipe, the whole bolt in there, and with a with a string on it. And I reckon it was about 12 or 13 inches long, and it had a real pipe on it.
Dubie at one point received a letter from the governor's office in which it said that it tacitly recognized his nation and to stop by the governor's office and smoke the peace pipe. What did you think when you saw that letter?
I thought it was I know that it was meant as a joke, but inappropriate. I think it only served to bolster the chief's ideas.
Yeah, I had it published in the paper, and then Carnahan had to sort of kind of retract it. Both newspapers made a fortune off the story, so one wouldn't take us all the wood, so I'd just go beep, 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 beep.
When did you first hear that your letter had been printed in the newspaper?
Well, I can't remember exactly who in the office brought the paper over to me in my office and said, "Well, Apple, you made news today." So that's the first time. They brought it, slapped it down on my desk and laughed like hell.
When you got the letter, how did you feel?
I felt like I won. Like they recognized my tribe.
My name is Chief Wana Dubie. I was with the chief and his wife when we went to the governor's office.
Yeah, they offered to smoke the peace pipe with me, so I went up to the governor's office to smoke a peace pipe with him.
When he came to Gypsy, did he try to smoke with you, or?
I had the pipe and we laughed about it, and he kept asking me, well, maybe we can go out in the garden here down by the governor's.
That he couldn't smoke the peace pipe because he'd be fired for dirty urine. Yeah, he didn't want to be a pea bottle, people. No, don't pickle me!
I don't know whether it was the drugs that were playing with him, whether he was, how serious he was about that, or whether he was just trying to play a game on government.
I want some satisfaction. You know, I have a right to redress my grievances that nobody listens. Are you listening? You know, can we talk face to face? I'm at war until I get a peace treaty signed for my tribe.
I kept quizzing him on, especially when he was in office, what do you want us to do for you? The nation, I don't think that's going to help me. You really need to go to the Attorney General's office if you want to reclaim something. And what makes you think you have the right to reclaim anything? And how mixed up are you in drugs?
Remember the Boston Tea Party? You know, remember the Cooper Hill Party? You're invited. I'm having a Cooper Hill pop party, and I'm planting marijuana, and you're invited.
But let me just tell you something. I'm not going to track back and forth to the governor's office and run errands for you with the governor. That ain't going to happen. So put on a piece of paper, we're going to answer, and that probably is going to be the end of what you and I talk about.
Well, you have a nice day, and I'm going to go plant some pot. Ciao, buddy.
He held a public ceremony, the Cooper Hill Pot Party. Do you remember that at all?
Yes.
And of course, from a news standpoint, the Wana Dubie story definitely took off.
Things have changed quite a bit with Joe. He kind of went over the edge and decided that he was going to make a big issue.
It was, I don't know how to describe it. It's one of those rare occasions when somebody goes, I'm going to do it, and go ahead and try to stop me.
Today is the birth of a new nation.
I'd like to say hi to my good friend Cowboy there in Bell, who was the first brave soul to come up my driveway.
7 miles of barbed wire, cobra snake for necktie, brand new house on that roadside.
And 15 people came, 4 people planners, and I thank them.
Come on, baby, take a walk with my child. Tell me who you love.
You know, everybody acts like, well, I never met anybody who would speak up against the government before. You know, I guess I'm that one. Most people who smoke marijuana are afraid to be here today because they're paranoid enough as it is. They don't need to be around them. They feel that they're persecuted and that their way of life is threatened. I still have some seeds to plant. I'm half done with my garden. And it's still a nice day. So wake up and smell the cannabis.
I don't think government's going to do anything because they got their hands tied right now. And they got themselves in a big mess. They're going to either have to give you your rights.
Yeah, it's a shame that Trump didn't come out because I had a little present for him. But it's even a bigger shame that the government didn't come out. You know, I was waiting for him, and I was really expecting them. I had a bigger target for them. Because they like shooting people in the back.
It was, you know, this is my nation, and in my nation, this is legal, and you can't do anything about it. And basically, for lack of a better phrase, he just sort of threw it in our face.
I have my own nation. I work. However, I have to wait until harvest season before I have pot, and I don't think I'll ever have to buy it again after that. It's been a hard, long road that I wanted. Marijuana is legal on the Dubie Nation.
And here's another patch. And another.
Is that still running? No?
That's a big plant there.
Have I ever seen you before there? Huh?
Ooh, that's a nice.
And this is a really wild looking plant we got stuck in a little raven. But this is the killer one. Take a whiff of that, dude.
Hey, he knows who I am. I'm who am I?
Yeah. That thing's pretty. Got my name on it.
And we're betting at Chief Wana Dubie for the flower garden. And we're having a real good time.
Oh, I can remember there was a few plants that came up here in this lower corner.
Nice, ain't it? Ooh, yeah. Just a little baby. Ooh, there's one.
Do you think Chief Wana Dubie smoked marijuana?
To get high.
So, if you want the best marijuana in town, talk to Chief Wana Dubie. Chief Wana Dubie.
Oh, I wish I was the Wana Dubie's Dubie. For everyone to be in love with me. But so far, the government's leaving me alone. The process acts like I don't exist. The Bill Banner guy put me out twice. He's waiting for the plants to grow before he comes again. He wants to get pictures of the plants. You know, pressing enough to look in the paper. All in all, I can't believe that I'm still alive and that I made it this far, but we'll see what happens now. Maybe they will come and take my buds, and maybe they won't, but they'll still have to kill me to take them. It feels strange, you know, being a nation. You know, all I wanted was buds, and now I have a nation.
While all this was going on, what were the other neighbors, the other people of Cooper Hill, what was their thinking in response to Chief Wana Dubie and his war against the United States?
Honestly, he scared the hell out of them.
We were getting information. I mean, we were hearing from people. You know, when are you going to do something about this?
And Joe was kind of a wild-looking guy, and they were scared. They were scared of him.
They knew exactly what was going on. They was waiting to make their move so they could prosecute him and silence him in prison.
On the day that the police showed up, where were you when you first saw that the police were coming?
I was at Dave's house playing marbles, and we heard the helicopter, so I told him I better go home.
Well, I don't remember the pilot, but he wasn't familiar with the area, and he wasn't familiar with the chief or the chief's nation. And he said, "Well, I'm not familiar with the area, so you'll have to kind of guide me where we're going." And I said, "Well, once we get to Cooper Hill, you'll know you can't miss it. His house has a big red bullseye painted on the roof."
The bullseye.
He wanted to make sure that they had the right house because he didn't want to mistake it for my place.
I don't want to say he wanted to get caught, but he didn't really make it very hard for us.
I was not out bothering anybody. I was at home, in my yard. I wasn't out driving. I didn't threaten nobody. I was not a threat. I was not a threat.
Once the scene was secure, we landed, and then we began processing our evidence and taking a complete set of photographs and videotaping, and took Mr. Bickell into custody.
We live in the Dubie Nation. This is the Dubie Nation.
There was guys in camouflage and black pants running around.
Initially, we discovered some plants and some flower beds around the house that we had located with using telephoto optics, and that basically got us our probable cause to do a thorough search of the property. And then the large plantation was found back behind the house.
How did you feel when you saw them pulling the marijuana up?
Like they were destroying my babies. But yeah, I did jack off in the field on them to fertilize them, and if that means anything, on a full moon. They were my children, and they came in and uprooted my children.
How was he acting during the raid, Chief Wana Dubie?
Defiant, very defiant.
I want to talk to my ambassador. These guys were supposed to bring an ambassador with them, but they didn't.
You're trespassing. A lot of it was ranting and raving. Things about he's a sovereign nation. We didn't have authority to be there.
Because you guys proved that the Constitution isn't worth a damn. Ain't worth the paper it's written on.
After a while, you just do your job and smile and go, "Okay, Joe, get in the car."
Well, they tried to roast me for a while, and if I am insane, I'll blame it on that. They locked me in the car and left. They were too busy pulling up my crop.
How much marijuana was there?
There was, I believe if I remember correctly, there was close to 40 to 50 plants, very large plants.
What did you end up doing with the marijuana after you confiscated it?
After court, it gets destroyed, and basically what that amounts to is going out and finding an isolated area and making a big brush pile and destroying it by fire.
What did you do when you were in jail?
Oh, it was just a new beginning. I just took the battle to the next phase and did the rain dance.
He was going to cause a great flood.
We had the radio in there, stereo, had cassettes, and so we listened to Black Crowes a lot.
And was going to do a rain dance until the earth flooded.
It rained and rained and rained and rained, and it caused the '93 flood.
I'm sure he did. Man had powers.
Toward the end, he went through the judicial system. We covered it more at that point as Joseph Bickell, defendant, State versus Joseph Bickell.
What did you think of your trial?
It was, I don't know what they call that, a witch's trial. I didn't have no defense. I was guilty.
He made a speech to the court about his not recognizing the court's authority or my authority or the United States authority or anybody else's authority for that matter, and still proclaimed his sovereign nation, and he wasn't under the laws of the United States.
They took my family, took my house, took my farm, took my life, took my sanity.
If I recall correctly, the judge let him talk for a while, but then I think he wore that pretty thin. And
What did you feel like when you were in jail?
Like Jesus Christ. Like I was being persecuted from my own people for talking common sense.
What kind of tattoos did he have?
The ones that I remember the most was the tattoos he had on his hand, like he had been crucified to a cross.
how he came to be what he came to be, I have absolutely no idea.
How long were you in jail?
5 years, 21 days.
But I do want to say that Joe was a friend of mine. He was a good person.
Yes, I done all I can do.
When it flooded in '93,
I'm gonna send you to
he was the one person that showed up down here to help me move things.
If I have to give him one thing, he knew how to grow marijuana. He produced some big plants.
Was he crazy? I don't think so.
I'd hate to see that rabbit get away.
There's no justification for squandering massive amounts of public money, imprisoning people, and depriving ourselves in the process of the tax money those people would otherwise earn when they had regular jobs. Instead, we throw them in prison, and we spend our tax money to house them, to feed them, to give them clothing, to give them medical care, and they don't want to be there. And we're not accomplishing anything. We're inflicting tremendous harm on ourselves when we throw people in prison for marijuana crimes.
Chief made a valiant effort. He gave up, sacrificed personal property and liberty, and he still struggles on. He's a lone brave who's become chief among men.
When the hound is on my track, I got a knapsack on my back.
The American people no longer have a voice. You know, when the Americans have to rebel to be heard, then we have no legislation, no representative. There's nobody there for us. There's millions of people just like me who have no voice. And if they want me to be their voice, I'm there for them.
Avalon is my hometown. It's always on my mind. Old Avalon is my hometown. It's always on my mind.
When I first smoked my first joint, it was the day that I learned that Thomas Jefferson and George Washington were hemp farmers and grew up behind the White House. And so I left school that day and I got a hold of this old hippie dude and I said, hook me up. He said, you don't smoke pot, you're a Boy Scout. I said, I want to know why it's illegal. He said, oh, I'll hook you up. So he rolls me up a big fat old doobie and I go to my girlfriend's house, Susan Van Dusen, and I fire it up. And I had this vision that I wanted to grow up to be a hippie and to become the chief of my tribe and legalize marijuana. And so that was in the 70s when I got kicked out of Missouri in 95. I went back up to Michigan and she was at my sister's house. And I told her I was a failure, that my life sucked, you know, that I lost everything I owned. And she said, what do you mean? You're the most dedicated, driven person I ever met in my life because you wanted to be Chief Wana Dubie since you were a teenager. I just didn't know my name until Dave pointed it out.
What do you think it is to be a hippie?
Nonconformist, someone who dares to live according to the dictates of their own conscience and not bow down to the authorities to be something you're not. What they don't want us to do is experience life. They want us to be taught in a book where everything's all just plastic. I don't know, like Jimi Hendrix said, are you experienced?
Wake up, man. Wake up.